Welcome everyone. This is another episode of the Hero series on my YouTube. Hey Roy, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Andre. It's good to see you.
So my next guest is a lead generation expert, and you find him, I love it, niche domination. That's the hashtag. Tell us about yourself, Roy. What has brought you to this point of niche domination? I really love that brand.
Well, it's been a long journey, but basically, my IT career began way back when mini computers were still the big thing, and computers that we're using today were just beginning to be able to be good enough to be used for business or government. And so I had a sales team that sold PCs and local area networks, which was a way to string the PCs together so they acted like a mini computer setup to the federal government. And so this was the first local area networks to the federal government. This was the first PCs being integrated to create applications. And from there, I began working with AT&T because they had a lot of government contracts. And beyond that, I programmed telephone switches for them, which was the big thing back then. Now we're doing a lot of voice over IP. But before that, it was telephone switches called PBXs that the large phone companies were using, and I programmed them. So I had an extensive background for IT. Then AT&T decided to open up a new organization in RTP, and I was in the Washington, D.C. area. But when they opened up the new organization, my wife and I always wanted to move down here anyway. So I jumped on the opportunity and became one of the first 3 people that was hired for this new organization. And this new organization provided outsourcing to US companies that no longer wanted to have an IT staff. They no longer wanted to have people that were going to control their phone and data networks. And this was, I thought, a brilliant idea by AT&T to provide the opportunity for them to outsource that service. And so I began working with a lot of different United States companies, and it turned out to be working with them throughout the world. So there was world travel and all that kind of thing, because this was before anybody had really developed how to teach over the internet. And we actually developed that. And so that was really great. And that ended up saving AT&T all kinds of money with its other operations. But the new organization that did the outsourcing became the most profitable part of AT&T. So that was very exciting. But if there was a downside of that, which I can't really say that there was, it was AT&T then sold itself to other smaller companies that then became AT&T, and I was out of a job. So, but I had the IT experience and the outsourcing experience and all that kind of thing. So I started my own company, and this was when I started doing lead generation, because companies used to be able to advertise in the phone book in the United States anyway, and they used to be able to advertise through classified ads in newspapers, but all that was coming to an end. And so I saw the opportunity to take PCs and make them the lead generation machines they could be. And so that was the beginning of the lead generation effort, which I'm still doing today. But the interesting part that happened next also really affects where I am today, because Google had been around, but it was costing them so much money to stay in business. They were losing millions and millions of dollars every year. And I couldn't understand really why they wanted to stay in business, because it didn't seem like they were ever going to go anywhere. But they were starting to open up their search engine to commercial companies, commercial websites, and which they had not really allowed previously. And so it was just the right place, right time. And Google then, besides offering the opportunity for companies to have websites, then came up with what eventually became Google My Business, and asked me if my clients would try this out. Now, I thought this was probably going to be a charge service in the future. So of course I wanted my clients to try it out, and I hoped we'd be grandfathered. It turned out this was the beginning of a relationship with Google. I had no idea they were going to turn out to be a very profitable company and this important on the internet. So that was exciting. But I got to understand what they were trying to do, and I've maintained those relationships so that I know what they're trying to do today. And really the crux of it is they've got 95% of the search market, and they don't want to lose any of it. So they want to have anybody that they recommend, and when I say recommend, I mean anybody that they put on page 1 of Google or in a Google map. They want to make sure that that person provides a good user experience to the person who they sent there, and that that person ends up getting the information they want, or understanding what the company has to offer, and is easily able to purchase the product or service that company is offering. So they want it to be a good experience for the user. And that has really changed everything that they're doing now, and the opportunity that businesses have today. So understanding that and realizing that I could only take on, maybe 10 clients maximum the way I was doing it, I decided to begin to put together a course that would teach anybody that wanted to understand this how they could market themselves with the way Google wants you to be as far as a site on the internet. And also, what was Google My Business, which is now Google Business Profile, and they have an intention for that too. And fortunately, I understand that one as well. So my course, my method, everything I've been doing that that's been tested and proven over the years is called niche domination. And that's the method that I want as many businesses as possible to know about, so that they can take advantage of this and continue to grow. Or, as some of my initial clients were, they were brand new startups that became profitable in their first year. Now, that's really rare unless you use a system like this. So, but I found out that people that take this course may or may not be able to do the things that they found out they want to do after they learn what's possible, or they may not want to do them all. And so I have put together a worldwide client support system that can do all these tasks for anybody that doesn't want to do certain things for one reason or another, or they can't. So that's where I am today. And I appreciate your asking that question.
Quite an intro. So that means you're able to help a new business, a new startup, and also someone who has been in business for years or decades?
Yes,
Mm.
and actually, to do this right, because it's gotten a little more complicated for Google, they're because they really want to maintain that 95% relationship with their searchers. It's really best for companies who are in competitive niches, like dentists, especially dentists. And also what's happening is, because the opportunity is there for larger companies now, the larger small companies are what can benefit most from niche domination. And the small, medium-sized companies like manufacturers, because they need to be found online. This whole world has changed with this pandemic. And so people need to be found online, and Google's putting all the tools in our hands. And for most companies, they don't even have to pay anything to Google for this. Now you can do that. Google's happy to take your advertising money, but they make so much opportunity available that you certainly don't want to start off by advertising. And even if you do advertise, you still want to use the niche domination method so that Google realizes you're who they should be sending organic free traffic to, or even paid traffic to. So it's gone that far. And so, this is where I want to go with it. Teach as many companies as possible. They don't have to worry about if they can't do any part of it that they choose they want to do, because they choose what they want to achieve with this method. And if they don't have an IT staff, they may want to have other people help them. I can provide the outsourcing, or we can recommend other people that can do it. The idea is to make as many companies have the opportunity to grow their businesses in this method.
So Roy, I'm wondering, like, yes, get a good user experience, but like some businesses, if they start up, let's say last month, 6 months ago, they may not even have reviews. Like, how would Google know, apart from obviously having maybe a fast website or something like that, but how would they know there will be an actual good outcome of that user experience? Because at the end of the day, I'm guessing, and tell me if I'm wrong, they probably want customers to resolve their problems, right?
Exactly. And resolving that problem may only be gaining information.
Okay.
So that's a very good question, and probably very few people understand the answer that I'm going to give, but it's the answer that's true, and will answer this question. What is happening is, because Google wants a good user experience for everybody that visits a website or a Google business profile, they have changed everything. They have changed how they rank companies. They have changed who they're going to put on page one, because those are their recommendations. They have changed who they're going to put in Google Maps. And so what's happening is, the website that you have more than likely needs to be changed. If it's more than 2 years old, it needs to be updated. And the way that you want to update it is provide information about your niche, about the things that you can do, about the things you can accomplish, about the transformations you can create. Because 75% of the people that come to your website, or even your Google business profile, are only coming for information. This gives you the opportunity to begin a relationship with somebody who isn't quite ready to buy, But by
Okay.
the time they are ready to buy, they've already got a relationship with you. So the chances of them buying from you are pretty good. And so the other thing is, and there are several others, but it's important that your website comes up quickly on a mobile device,
Mm.
a standard mobile device, not anything necessarily very fancy, because the typical person has a typical mobile device. And more websites are brought up on a mobile device than on a desktop PC
Mm.
anymore. So most searches are done or begun on mobile devices. Now, here's the thing that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. Google now is tracking people that come to you, even if they started on their cell phone,
Mm.
and then continues to track them, even if they continue to build that relationship with you and learn more from you or interact with you in more ways, even if it's then switched to the desktop. And then even if it goes back to the mobile phone. So they're tracking all of this and putting it together. And there isn't another company out there that's doing this yet. Facebook is not. LinkedIn is not. Anybody they're related to is not. Google is the only one. They're so far ahead of this. They've been trying to put this together for about 4 years, and it's there now. So there's a way of measuring the people that actually come to your website, and most people know about this. It's called Google Analytics, and if you're not using it yet, you probably want to start using it now, because they've put this new way of tracking everybody into Google Analytics 4, which is going to be mandatory next July 1st. But you want it to be mandatory because this is so good for you if you want to use Google Analytics, because this is the mechanism for tracking the client or customer before they are a client or customer, when they're just a searcher that comes to your site or business profile. And then Google starts what turns out to be a timeline, and that timeline ends with the first purchase. So they track that all the way from when they first came to you until they purchased from you. And they make it easier for you, if you're going along with all this stuff, which I recommend you do, to actually gain customers that way. They're making it so easy for you to do that, so you won't stop searching on Google, and then you will begin advertising with them, because they're going to actually change all their advertising as well. So they want to be the only game in town.
So what I hear from you, it's the essential information for a business owner now. They do the mapping out of the whole customer journey.
Yes.
And that probably would be accessible, and probably they can replicate it to maybe even optimize it. So it's shorter and faster to have that know, like, trust type of relationship where they are primed to buy.
It's an amazing thing. They have figured this out, how to do it all with their search engine and with all the other computerization they've got going on besides artificial intelligence, which is very important for when somebody starts it on a cell phone and then switches over to a desktop, because that artificial intelligence can piece these things together and can build that timeline. And they don't really care what device is being used to get to you thereafter, because the AI will continue to put that together. Now, they've always been building a database on businesses anyway, but think about how extensive that'll be now. And they actually want you to be successful, which may flabbergast a lot of people, but it's true.
That's powerful. And you have an amazing future. It looks like you're sitting there on the top of all of this information, and you've created a course for people to really, is it step by step, really simplify for them to be able to process and go through this? How long time does it take?
Well, the initial course, which is a lot of times what is only needed, is a 4-week course.
Okay.
And at the end of that 4 weeks, they know how this stuff works that I just been talking about. And Google is continuing to make changes. So by the time the 4 weeks is up, you'll probably need a little more information. And that's when we get together with a one-on-one and figure out exactly how you want to take advantage of this. And then anything that's changed in the meantime is explained so that this can be put into place at that point in time. And usually the way most businesses use this is they had things they wanted to accomplish when they started the business, but they get so tied up with the business and there's so much going on that they kind of forget the dream they had when they started it. Well, this is how to make that dream come true for starters, and then how to embellish it after that with continued new objectives that can be accomplished each year. And you use it with that same system, the niche domination system. Now, there are some people that are going to want more detail, and then they can take an additional course, or they can have support on how to take that and utilize it. They can have whatever support they want. The object is here, there's no reason why a company can't use this to be successful or to be more successful. Now, when it comes to the manufacturing companies or the larger small businesses, a lot of them have suffered because of the pandemic. And so now they need to restructure all this. They need to know how to market on the internet. And that's what niche domination helps them do. And it helps them market themselves and their businesses, whatever they choose. That method will do either or both. So it's even good for an entrepreneur working from home that's just going to start off a new business, or may have learned something all their life, and now they're ready to establish a business to do that because they're tired of working for someone else. And there's a lot of that going on already. People are deciding they don't want to work for companies anymore. So there's a tremendous amount of new businesses forming. This is the fast track to making that a profitable business.
And tell me, you mentioned there's so many changes by Google, how they run their own mechanisms or algorithm or whatever it is. Then, so they come to you after the course, you'll be able to have that consultation. And then how do you make sure they won't slip off again from Google's new developments and all of that? Do you have something in place?
Explain that again, Andre. I didn't quite understand what you were wanting to know.
So if, say, let's say you set this up, but you mentioned there are changes constantly.
Yes.
Like if you have a client, how are you able to keep that client kind of up to date, or be able to manage them through all of these changes that are coming up?
Well, what I'm doing is several things. One, if they want to, they can just meet with me in a group each week, and they'll get the new tips and tricks and be able to take advantage of that. That'll be one method. The other is I'm actually offering a tips and tricks and questions and answers session each week. And we're doing it primarily for the United States. If we get enough other global interest, we may do it in other times, that explains all that's happening and how to take advantage of that. Because it's one thing to know what's happening, but it's also another thing to know how to benefit from that, because you certainly can do that. Google wants you to benefit from that because they want you to be part of their team. They want you to be part of their organization as a subset, so that more people will continue to use their search engines, because the population continues to grow, and they want, if they're going to increase their 95% or maintain their 95%, that means greater numbers are needed continually. So they're going to start, I think, letting these tips come out more publicly, although that hasn't been the case so far. So I'm a good person to stay in touch with. Yeah. And I will offer the Q&A, where we'll actually specifically answer your questions on how to take advantage of these changes. I'm going to talk about new changes every week, and that's another way to do it. There may be other things that unfold over time, when there are a lot of people that have taken the course and they begin to say, oh, we'd really like this, because we're going to satisfy the people that have taken our course or want to learn from us, that they get the information they need, because the object is to use Google's good intentions here. I really believe they're good, to help businesses grow.
Wow. And I was wondering though, how, if someone is excited that you have all of this information and you created a course and you have the step-by-step, is where to find you? How could they get in touch?
Well, for one thing, I'm on LinkedIn. It's Roy Dickan, ROYDICKAN. A lot of people find me through LinkedIn. That's a very good method. I also have a YouTube channel, Roy Dickan again, and I'm actually talking about all these changes one by one with a video each week. So you can learn all this stuff going to YouTube, going to my channel there. And if you really want to keep up with all of these things, I would suggest you subscribe to my channel. And there's even a way you can click to have a notification every time I put up a new YouTube video, although there is one every week, so you can just expect that. You can also set up an appointment with me to talk about your business now and where you'd like it to go, and learn more about the things we're talking about today by going to learnfromroy.com and picking out a time that works for you, and we'll get together and talk about it. And you can see if niche domination will work for you. I believe it probably will. So taking that course initially is probably going to be a good thing for you. And then you're going to have the relationship begun with me that you can keep in touch and that kind of thing. So you can continue to learn what you want to learn. The thing about this whole thing is niche domination is used differently by every company. It's what they want to do. It's using a method that I figured out works, and it's been tested and proven by a number of companies over the last more than a dozen years. So, and everyone uses it differently, because you want people to find you in a different way with different search terms. All that needs to be determined. You want to have them contact you. Maybe it's a form. Maybe it's a telephone call. Maybe you want them to go to YouTube. Maybe you want them to go to your LinkedIn account. It's whatever a company wants. It's whatever a person wants, an entrepreneur. So every one of these is different, but in this initial course, you learn the way to do this, and how you can set it up. And of course, if you're having trouble setting it up, then you've got me to help you do exactly that. You can get a hold of me in a lot of different ways. I also have a website, Roy at Clear Choice. Well, the website is clearchoicemarketinggroup.com, and my email is Roy at clearchoicemarketinggroup.com. So all of those ways are means of getting in touch with me. I would certainly love to talk to anybody that wants to take advantage of Google's changes, because a lot of people don't even know that these changes are happening. What I like to do is always get in on the beginning of this stuff. That's why I wanted to be with AT&T when they opened up the new organization. That's why I wanted to be selling to the federal government before they even had local area networks. And that's why I wanted to start creating lead generation with PCs and start my own business. So I always want to be on the forefront of this stuff, because when you get in on the beginning, it's before a lot of people are there. Your competition is, much, much less. And you've also established yourself. See, what Google is looking for is the authorities for various keywords. I mean, you want to become an authority, and essentially niche domination teaches you to become that authority. So it's kind of deep, but I mean, we break it down so it's pretty easy to learn all this stuff.
So tell me, what is the next goal for you, or next big jump? Do you looking for impact, or what is driving you now with all of this information? You're running front, teaching other people, other businesses. Tell us.
That's exactly what I want to do right now. I want to teach as many companies or entrepreneurs as I can every year. And so my goal really is 1,000 new entrepreneurs or businesses per year. It'll take me a while to get there, but I'll get there. And then any of those that need support in any way to fulfill the tasks they've chosen to do, I have the support team already worldwide, so it doesn't matter where they are in the world. And we can provide that service for you, or we can recommend the kind of person you want to find, because you may already know somebody that builds websites. You may know somebody that can set up your Google business profile. You may know somebody that can do, let's supposing that it's important for you to do posts to be found. We can either set you up with all those people, or recommend people, or do it for you. So anything that you need to accomplish this, we can provide or extend a resource to you, or just tell you, this is the kind of thing you want to find, go find it. And if you have a problem, come back to us and we'll help you get there. So that's what I want to do. 1,000 people a year learning this. That's really not many in the whole world. And then the support services that are necessary if they need them, which some people will, some people won't, because there's a good percentage of people that this is easy enough that that they don't need any additional help. Now, when they get to the point where they're going, I'm doing too much work here, I think I've got the money coming in now, so I can afford to outsource some of this stuff, like the US companies did to AT&T back then. They didn't want their IT staff, and a business may not want to do certain things. So they may choose to do it down the road. They may get started doing it themselves, but when they've grown, they may get to the point where they don't want to do it anymore. So all of those options will be made available.
Absolutely amazing. Roy, before we wrap up, is there, and we will put all your details under the video, of course, have you got any other golden nuggets that you want the audience to take away as a few last thoughts?
Yes, I think this is one that's important for anybody that had a Google My Business listing. And it probably was the way that a lot of people found you, at least locally. Although if you use this method, you can be found with what used to be a Google My Business listing worldwide. But anyway, however that was happening for you, that's no longer available to you. It's now a Google Business Profile, and it's different. It's not tremendously different, but it's different enough that you need to figure out how the new thing works. And so here's what you need to do. You need to go to your Google My Business listing and see if you can still access it in the same way. Some people still can, but a lot of people can't. And if you have trouble getting to it, go to learnfromroy.com and set up an appointment, and I'll tell you how to get to it. Now, the thing that people have been coming to me for the last few weeks, and they are not happy, and they are in some cases having anxiety attacks about it, because they used to use their Google My Business listing as a means to really do their lead generation. And all of a sudden, they're not getting any people coming to their Google Business Profile or their website. I mean, none. And so the thing that you need to do is make sure, first of all, when you get into your Google Business Profile, when it used to be Google My Business, and even now when it shows up on the web, there's a chance to tap on a tab that's called website. And if that website tab takes it to where you had it set up before, which is probably your website, then that's good. But for some people, it's not doing that anymore, because Google has developed something really good for us, except they've never told us. So we find it by accident. And a lot of times we wish we never found it by accident, because they've created a new website for us, built out of the information that's on our Google Business Profile and maybe on our website. And it's a beautiful website, but it's not the website that used to be when somebody hit the tab button and went to your own website. It may be going to Google's new website that they've created for you, which they want you to love. Well, you can love it, but in the first place, you need to go back and connect that tab to your own website if that was the way you were generating leads. So that's the big thing. That's the thing that's causing the most trouble. Anybody that doesn't understand what I'm talking about, I can explain it to you on learnfromroy.com. But as long as you've still got all your leads, it's probably working the same. It's for the people who no longer are getting leads and they're wondering, what the heck has happened here? And I mean, they're probably not using that language either. But anyway, that's the tip. You need to go and see how you can access your Google Business Profile, because it may be different. And if you can get into it, it's sort of self-explanatory, but if it's your first time looking at it that way, it may not be self-explanatory enough. So let me help you.
Well, Roy, we've got you and you have got our back. So reach out to Roy if you have doubts, you don't know what to do. And I have seen his first Q&A or new series where he's really shining the light on all of these murky changes with Google. And you join that weekly or bi-weekly series and you'll be able to have maybe becoming the knowledge resource for all your communities and yourself.
Yes, because people need to know this. So you may want to be the one that explains it to them and tells them these tips, that the simple ones that they need to check out, like, does your website tab still go to your own website? And you can pass that information on to them. So that's a great idea, Andre.
Roy, thank you very much for your time. Again, it was amazing as usual, massive value for people listening to it. And of course, we'll share it everywhere because this is too important not to be, not to be familiar for people who are probably, when you said, what the heck? Well, I had a different word in my mind, an F word, but they could be pretty upset.
Yeah, some people are very upset because they were basically relying on that for the majority of the leads that come in, and they needed leads every week. Well, they were there. It's just that they weren't getting them because their whole system was broken, the way they'd set it up to generate the leads and the way people were finding them. So I'd love to explain this to you. And if you'd like to, I'd be really happy if you took the course and we built a relationship so I can help you for years to come.
Well, thanks very much. And find Roy's details under the video and reach out and follow his content because we need this guy. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you, Andre. It's always good to see you.